talk to us today about how to fail at Agile.
Okay.
Does that sound possible? So Amr's very cool. He's an Agile coach, an Agile practitioner, Agile trainer, and he's all about spreading Agile and lean thinking into Egypt and the Middle East. So I'm going to hand over to Amr right now.
As soon as thank you very much. I'm just trying to open the presentation. Just bear with me for a second. I think I need someone to help me. No, I want to just move to the Okay, great. So, okay. So, do I have to hold this?
Yes, please.
Really? Okay. I'm good. Holding too many tools with this gives an indication that you are using too much tools, and this is something which we'll talk about, by the way. Using so many tools would give a good indication that you are doing Agile. So, but this wouldn't. Okay. It's a weird start. How to fail with Agile. I'm here in an Agile conference to teach you what should you do in order to fail and fail fast. Okay. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm an Agile practitioner, and I'm coaching teams, doing software development sometimes. I'm fond of Agile and lean concepts to the extent that I have devoted my work life to introducing Agile concepts and techniques into Egypt and the Middle East, maybe. I'm a co-founder of Agile Academy in Egypt, and I had the honor to initiate the Egypt's Go Agile program in 2011, a program funded by the government to introduce lean and Agile thinking into the Agile software development industry in Egypt. And actually this move taught me a lot about Agile, because I had the opportunity to experiment many things that I used to believe with many teams. And later on, things change, and I keep learning along the way, and I keep collecting more failure patterns of how to apply Agile in an incorrect way. Now, we have to question the basic theme of this talk. Do we really fail with Agile? What do you think? In one report in 2012, we had an excellent result. Agile helped teams succeed around 30% more, and it also rescued many teams. Around 20% of the teams in this study, it rescued them from failing. So this is a great success, right? This is hard. This is something I really moved when I saw this report. But there is something that would really counterattack us when we are thinking about agile failure. What about this blue area? Challenged is defined in this report as either you have delivered less requirements, less features, or you are over budget or with delayed schedule, something like that. So we can read this report in another way. We can say that Agile has done nothing in rescuing projects from delivering less features or being overrun in terms of budget or in terms of schedule. This is what it says. 57% to 49%, it's not significant. Moreover, the next year, they have came out with a special report for small projects. This is a very famous study done by the Standish Group, which is issued every year. It's called the Chaos Report or the Chaos Manifesto. What they have done is that they focused on projects which is less than $1 billion of fund. $1 million of fund. Billions too much. Okay? So what they have found is something which is very stunning. Agile and waterfall does more or less the same thing. So if we read this again, we can say that the Agile movement has more or less done very good in the community by making people focus on smaller projects, not on larger projects. And this is what makes really Agile succeed a bit, of course, it succeeds a lot better than waterfall. But this report was really illuminating in red, actually, because this is not the kind of expectation that we had in the Agile community. Okay, now, what's the difference and what's common in both of these accidents? What do you think?
Driver is dead in one. The driver is dead in the one car.
The driver, actually, well, you have just targeted the right result. You deserve some souvenir from each other.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Floating trophy.
What's common? What's happening? What's that? Oh, we're back again. What's in common between these two is the driver himself. You know, the driver habits, the driver way of work, the driver mindset. It didn't save him that he just buy another extravagant car like this Chevrolet Corvette. It's more powerful, it's more fast, it's magnificent. More than this ordinary sedan car. You know, it's the same accident, and it's a problem actually. The tools and techniques are different. However, the mindset and attitudes are the same. So this is the first clue I'll be giving to you in this session, that the mindset and attitudes managing agile projects, if they didn't change, you will probably fail even if you have an excellent team, excellent tools, excellent everything. I'll focus on this maybe for 5 minutes, so just I'd like you to focus more about this concept, okay? There are two kinds of works, guys. We have to admit that. There are work that can be done and can be attributed to be a task work, and there are another type of work which is more attributed to be a knowledge work, you know? This is a great difference, because task work can be done this way, can be implemented this way, and knowledge work needs these kinds of iterative life cycle, which enables us to get feedback and know if we are gaining knowledge or not. Okay, this is the work of my close friend Ahmed Sidqi. If you heard about him, he is the managing director of IC Agile, and he has came out with these 3 sliders of identifying the differences between task work and knowledge work. He says that to manage task work, you need some kind of an assembly line mentality. But to manage knowledge work, you will need some kind of a knowledge work mentality. The first question is, are the outcome knowable in advance? The second question is the outcome based on tangible products or based on kinds of ideas and thoughts? The third question is the outcome or the work producing the outcome, can it be managed through a defined process or through an empirical process? Basically, the difference between these two defined process and empirical process is that a defined process is a set of activities that when run the same way would produce the same result every time. Whereas the empirical process is an activity that should be done, and I cannot go on to the second activity unless I see the results of the first one, because the results of the first activity determines how am I going to do with the second activity. So this is an empirical process. What about this piece of writing? What do you think? Is the outcome knowable in advance? No way. By the way, this is a great author who was writing one of the masterpieces of literature. He has written something on the typewriter, and he has no idea how much rework he will be doing with this piece of writing. If your kid came with such a piece, would you reward him of being innovative or punish him of being not able to produce something valuable from the first time? Test your mentality. How would you respond? Okay, this is, in knowledge work, is considered to be innovation. This is, in task work, is considered to be rework, waste. Okay? But anyway, this piece of writing in general, is it considered like a knowledge work or task work? Knowledge work, of course. Have you written any articles before? Any blogs? Any emails? Any reports at work? What was the first version look like? Was it published? No way. I've recently published an article at InfoQ. I spent 4 months of my life reviewing this piece of article with my reviewer. So it's not that easy. No. This. Can you see this? Okay. Good enough is good software. So is the outcome knowable in advance? The second question, is it based on physical or tangible products? The outcome of this kind of work, is it tangible? No way. It's just a list of thoughts organized in some language. The third question, does it follow any defined process? Can I tell you that in order to write a great article, you will need to think once, then think twice, then write something, then review it twice, and you're done? Can I say that? No way. Nobody knows how much review this would take. Nobody knows how much thinking in advance this would take. Nobody knows how many experimentation with writing and language you will need to do so that to come out with this piece of writing. This is totally different from the field of construction, which is a great example of task work. If you are building this building, this is completely different. So this is actually two areas of management. If you are managing writing, this is different from managing building buildings. Now, how would you describe software development? Is it based on, is the outcome knowable in advance? What's your experience? Yes or no? No. Anybody says that it's knowable in advance? I'd really like you to share if this is the case. Say it loud, because this is a new thing in software development. Okay. The second question, is it based on tangible or thoughts and ideas? Thoughts and ideas. The last thing, can we manage it using a defined process, or it need to be an empirical process? can we manage the software project by setting the number of iterations or even the number of activities and the number of feedback cycles with the customer? I never know how many cycles I will spend in this project until the customer says, I'm okay with this. So, no, it needs some kind of an empirical process in which we work in a discovery mode. We discover the end product with the customer until the customer is ready to accept it and says that this is exactly what I want. Okay? Actually, what we are talking about is a total paradigm shift between traditional thinking and traditional life cycles of software development and agile life cycles of software development. As you see, something is fixed in both ways. In the traditional world, we have fixed the requirements. But in Agile, we have fixed something else. We are not, we cannot do that. We cannot assume that we can fix the requirements. Shall we wait for you? Minimize, okay, no problem. This will fix it. Thank you very much. So, as I said, there is something that should be fixed. In Agile, we tend not to fix requirements, but we tend more to fix resources and time so that to be able to manage. You know, but requirements is something that is discoverable, that needs to be discovered. How to manage Agile projects in a waterfallish way? This is many ways, by the way. One way, which is very simple, is to stuff requirements, complete requirements in small iterations. This is known as Scrum Fall, you know, the name. So you have iterations, but every iteration is a very small project in which a big requirement is done and that's it. You don't get feedback from customers. So this is one way. Actually, what I have described right now is a failure pattern, but I'll describe it in another way. You know, in order to go from waterfall to Agile, you have to move from this way to this way, right? You have to move your processes. You have to move your way of thinking about the outcomes. You have to move from the way of thinking of the process running the world. But what happens is that we move this way. We move towards making the process more empirical, making the process more, how can I describe it? More complex, to manage more specific situations. You know, think about the process that a Scrum team typically starts with, and after 1 year, how much extra steps and things that they have added to this process. You know what we are trying to do by moving this way and not moving this way, what we are trying to do is to fit this cube into this round hole and keep trying hard to fix it. Sometimes it happens, just like this. But with so many side effects, like stress, low quality, crunch testing, work weekends, overtime, demotivation. Even if you are doing Agile, you'll still be demotivated, not feeling the agility, not feeling the joyful experience of doing Agile work. So, the first answer, fix your mindset. Do not move towards an Agile mindset. I'm not telling you that there is anything wrong with fixed mindsets. No, this is not the topic of the talk right now. We need to fix many things when we are building ability. a house. There is a lot of very good things to do in order to optimize the work and expedite how waste is reduced, things like that. In the field of software, no, you cannot fix your mindset this way. There is a great saying by Virginia Satir, and she's a family therapist. She says that change occurs one person at a time. If you are failing with Agile, most probably there is something in the organization which is stopping you from moving towards an Agile mindset. It can be a manager, it can be a senior developer, it can be whoever else, but it's always a human being. So, change occurs one person at a time. The second thing, create a, not learning, a knowledge draining organization. We are very happy with being a learning organization, that we learn. But in many cases, these learnings are just thrown away. This is what Steven Spear mentioned in his great book, Chasing the Rabbit. One characteristic of lower performing organizations is that they make matters worse by suppressing their ability to learn from experience. I was working for a company which had more than 400 developers developing Java applications. Really? Okay, I'll move fast. So what happened is that the moment I face a problem, I was very sure that someone else in this building have solved this problem before. But what happened is that I resolved the problem again and again. Why? Because there is no way of accumulating knowledge inside the organization. So this is a great problem, which makes our ability to grow and learn from our own experiments with Agile vanish away. So this is one thing that you have to care about. Study your successes of Agile adoption and try to do something to make this knowledge transparent for the rest of the organization. The third thing is that care about the practice and forget about the value. Let me show you, this is something that I have, the first time I'm doing right now. I'll show you a video for myself. Doing an experiment last year. Okay, just a second. We need to. Of course, you don't hear anything, so I'll start with it. In this experiment, I told I requested from the attendees to change their places. And notice what they have done. This is my request. And after less than 30 seconds, the crowd of 220 persons have changed their places. It's fine. It's no problem. Okay. What happened in this experiment is that I thought half of the crowd wouldn't accept my order. This is my own perception. And I would be, at that time I thought it would be very good to run a kind of a discussion about the value of changing the place. Very simple change, but in the meanwhile, you don't know why you do that. What happened is that 220 of them changed their places, only 3 of them didn't. And actually, the good news is that there are 3 of them who would question the value of any practice before applying it. This is something that we have to do when we are applying any practice in software development. You have to question, does this work good with us? Does this has value? What's the value? Okay, if there is value, then we'd go to the next step. Try it in a sandbox, not a pilot. Try it several times. You'll fail with 1 or 2 experiments, and then it would make some good results in other experiments, things like that. This is what we call a sandbox. A pilot project is set up to succeed and give false indications. After a while, you'll need to see some value. Does this practice really help me to do a better job or not? This is the way we introduce practices of Agile in companies. And this is the way that we have to question everything. I usually tell teams that if I told you to do something, say continuous integration, you have to challenge me. If I fail to convince you with the value of the practice, don't do it. Okay, which is the one? This is a question for you. Another souvenir will come out from here as well. Whoever answer it correctly. What's the one practice of Agile which is indispensable? Collaboration. Prioritization.
Retrospectives.
Retrospectives.
Trust.
What?
Trust.
Trust. Trust is not a practice. It's a value. Yeah. This is something very important. The answer is that there is no one practice which is indispensable in Agile. This is the difference between, really we have to work hard on transitioning from a fixed mindset to an agile mindset. I'm very sorry to say that. But this is really what should happen. Practices are only indispensable in context, in some context. A context is defined by the team, the organization, the product, and the customer. Given these 4 perspectives of a context, I can say that we need to apply pair programming, that we need to have something like a retrospective, that we cannot do without release planning. This is the way we think about practices. Okay, I'll move very fast on one technique that would give you indication why the specific practice fails. This technique called twinning practices. Practices are born in twins. Agile practices are not one at a time. You know, sometimes they are triples. Like, and you know what? There is one twin which is older than the other by 5 minutes. You know, so he has something which more advanced, like iterations and small requirements. Iterations is a very good Agile practice, doing iterations instead of one-shot development. But without small requirements, iterations will fail. Right? Can we do a 3-week requirements in 2-week iterations? It doesn't make sense. So this, if you are failing with iterating and not producing some kind of value and not seeing the value and feeling it, test what other twin practice that I should care about. It may be something like this. This is another example. Continuous integration. It twins usually with automated tests and collective code ownership. The 3 of them are Agile practices, but if continuous integration is implemented without automated tests, it brings about very little value. Okay? And if we don't have collective code ownership, also collective continuous integration wouldn't benefit a lot. Small daily tasks, stand-up meetings. Which is the bigger twin here? Stand-up meetings. Okay, without small daily tasks, stand-up meetings wouldn't have a meaning. If we are assigning 3-day development tasks for developers, What's the value of having an everyday meeting? Let it be a 3-day, once every 3 days, every 4 days, and this would also wouldn't make sense. It would be a half iteration meeting or something like that. Stand-up meetings are something different. It has value in itself, which is different from weekly meetings or retrospectives or things like that. Iteration review meeting, user stories, small user stories. Iteration review meetings wouldn't make anything without small user stories. The customer would come and see some kind of requirements implemented and ready for use. If our requirements are big enough not to be, and we cannot fit it in one iteration, then iteration retrospectives wouldn't, iteration review meetings wouldn't add a lot. Release planning. Now, it's your turn to think about this. This needs training. What's the value of release planning? And if it is failing in our case, what's that one practice that we have forgot to apply? What's the value of release planning? Shall we do release planning? Of course. In my case, in one team case, they had to come out with a plan to do their job. So the way that we found applicable is release planning, but it doesn't work. You know, we have twinned this with story mapping, a technique for prioritizing requirements in the release and come out with a release plan which is much better. Independent stories. Without independent stories, you cannot plan releases. You cannot plan iterations inside the releases and get feedback. Simple design. This is the last thing that I'm going to present for you. If we are failing to produce simple design, and this is pure technical stuff, what's failing? What's the other practice that would help me really do simple design safely? Having coding standards. You know, XP practices are all twins. There is another practice which is called maybe continuous refactoring. What do you think? Simple design, coding standards, and continuous refactoring. The three of them would make a big success in a team which is technically excellent. This is the template. If you are failing with one practice, what other twins would you think about? So that if they are implemented side by side, you would better succeed with practice adoption. But before I leave, there is one thing that I would like to leave with you. First, it's all about value. If the team grasps the value, and then after applying the practice, they see the benefit, then you will succeed with Agile. Otherwise, this practice wouldn't make a difference. And I'll let you know about one story that happened with me with one practice, which is the stand-up meetings. It was failing in one case, and the team didn't feel the value, and they have stopped using Agile because they felt that Agile is very naive. When I met this team maybe 2 years later and told me that they have stopped using Agile, I offered them to coach them to Agile practices and Agile adoption. They told me, no, we'll never do that. Why? Because the moment they hear the word Agile, they feel the ache in the knees. You know, this is what makes people think bad about Agile. It's not the mindset. No, it's a set of practices, which is a great difference. Okay? Thank you very much. And these are my contact information. I will be very... Get in contact with you.
Non tecniche. Non ho. Aspetta. I think I'm gonna
Oh yeah, I'm not sure.